Kind of reminds me of the amount of liquidity for the US dollar. None. So last week, guys, I mean, we've really been keeping up with record volatility in terms of FX markets versus equity markets. That's kind of how, you know, they base things relatively. And FX, I mean, we're still keeping up with record volatility. Last week, we saw immense movements. I mean, as you guys have seen, Euro, Aussie, GBP, USD, Aussie NZD, the JPYs, everything. Really anything based or crossed with the US dollar, but we also saw some stuff come out that wasn't really crossed with the US dollar. That's just ridiculous. So to talk about some of the plays that I wanted to play last week, we mentioned an Aussie buy. Okay, we mentioned an Aussie buy intraday, and then we wanted a sell-off. Obviously, the sell-off never happened. We ended up breaking the monthly high, the monthly support of that 77 level, breaking it all the way up into the 78s. So luckily that buy, intraday buy, worked out, but I never got a sell side signal. I never got any kind of consolidation. I'm gonna pull up a screenshot of the chart, just look at the straightaway move, okay? We never had any kind of slowing down of momentum. We just kind of ripped straight away. So that was very interesting. So now one thing that could have went dramatically different was the NZD USD. A lot of us were short NZD USD earlier in the week, but then what happened was we actually came down. I'll show you guys another screenshot of the NZD. We came down to the 23.6, so we kind of had an early entry in on the 23.6 NZD play. And so what happened, a lot of the guys hit me up, and I was talking about it myself, saying, hey, you know, they were like, hey, should we start covering positions at this 23.6? And there was this structural area back in June 5th, I think June 5th to the 13th, where we had some consolidation that aligned straight with the 23.6. And another thing, folks, we look to seek risk, right? We like to see when markets are risky in the sense that the market may start consolidating. There may be some liquidation of a certain side, so that we don't get any kind of follow through, right? So when you come to a 23.6, when you actually hit on the level, you may see the market race off. And I mean, that's just what we see all the time. We want a nice clean break of it. So when you're trading up inside of a range and then the market comes down into the 23.6, you need to have risk aversity on 10, all right? Especially in today's markets where 23.6 breaks are not happening, at least that continuation. Oftentimes, if you get a 38.2, all the market did was wick down into it and sit up there in the 23.6 and eventually rips out, okay? Euro is a prime example of that. I'll show you guys a screenshot of the Euro where the 38.6 was barely hit off on many occasions. So what happened was, we all ended up covering at that 23.6. So NZD was a profitable position, and then what happened was I actually saw that we consolidated at that level, and we took it for a move back up into the 61.8 and the 78.6% retracement. Now, as you guys can see, it actually ended up breaking out of the high. Okay, it actually ended up breaking out of the high. So, folks, momentum right now for USA sells is ridiculous. Yellen didn't do any. We wanted some strength from Yellen, right? We hoped Yellen at these testimonies. I mentioned last week that Yellen's going to have 2 testimonies in front of Congress. Okay, one on Tuesday, and I think the other one was on Thursday. And she did nothing. She did nothing to give any investors any kind of strength or any kind of ideas that we're going to be able to heighten rates. We're at an 8% chance to heighten rates in September. Okay, we were at 10. All right, so right now we have 2 in the bag. It doesn't look like we're going to be a third, and that's in September. That's the Fed Fund futures rate September contract. So at the moment, folks, right now it seems as if I'm down. Okay, I'm down with taking these buys. Euro, I'm down with a continuation of Aussie. Maybe we'll get a pullback on Aussie, back onto structure. We have to see. Pound, I've been mentioning pound being weak as hell for the past couple of months. All right, so we should definitely see pound continue. But again, such enormous market moves. Are we going to get any kind of little short-term pullbacks? That's where we're going to go into the charts and try to figure out, and assessing markets throughout the week to try to figure out as well, okay? So other than that, folks, we got some big CPI news coming out this week, and we have an ECB conference coming out this week. Not too much fundamentally US side we're looking at. Everything's kind of over there on the Eastern hemisphere, just kind of surveying exactly what's going to happen. Is Joggy going to lessen the stimulus CPI-wise? Are the numbers going to come out good, and is that going to give us some implication in terms of, you know, where we're going to be taking things directionally? A lot fundamentally, so much fundamentally, in fact, that I'm coming out with a completely different segment that is all about fundamentals. 100% about fundamentals, deep research as to what some of the fundamental data releases mean, how they have had impact on the market. So we won't go too much into technicals. If we do, we're just looking at the reaction of that CPI release, PMI, interest rate numbers. When the differentials get too high, kind of showing you maybe how markets can track that, gold, all the different commodities. We'll kind of go really deep into the market structure outside of the currencies themselves to give you guys that overwhelming understanding of what's actually happening. Okay, so what we're gonna do, folks, we're gonna head over to the charts. We're gonna look to see what we're looking at structurally. Maybe we'll have a directional bias. Maybe we have something intraday, but we'll also maybe have something swinging that we want to escalate into. All right, so guys, let's pull over to the charts. If you guys ever have any questions, comment below. All right, let me know. All right, let's pull over to the charts. All right, traders, let's pull over into these charts. I do have 3 trade ideas, 2 that are, I'm still, looking at, kind of surveying, monitoring, and 1 that is looking really good in terms of a sell, which is this GBP USD. We'll get into that in a second. I did push it over here into the broadcast, so make sure you log into our trading lounge and check out the broadcast. All the setups are there. All right, but if we can go into it now, kind of give ourselves an idea as to what we're looking like for the week, and I have a couple of things drawn up on this Euro USD already. All right, so let me pull back out to the weekly just to give you guys a general perspective as to what we're looking at here. Guys, notice again, we're still up here in the range. Okay, now no matter how much volatility, no matter how many Euro bulls there are, we're technically still up here in the range. Now, can we crack out of this thing? Absolutely, absolutely, and you'll understand it. You'll kind of get a better idea as to what we're looking like here if I pull over to the monthly. So notice it's very interesting again to note, like I just said last week, all right, to see that we've actually held the highs prior to this high being held here. We've only done that once. Other than that, what you guys can notice here, we've just really wicked up into that level on multiple occasions, but we were never able to sustain the $14s. Well, we're sustaining $14s fairly well. Not only are we sustaining $14s, we are actually consolidating within $14s. So you guys can notice we have a red candle here in terms of a weekly. This is a weekly. Last week we sustained the week prior in terms of a close. We sustained within this week as well. So this is a very, very telling sign that there is participation up here at these levels. All right, so what's going to have to happen is we have a meeting on Thursday with the ECB. And Draghi's going to be, berating market enthusiasts about, certain things that he sees, that he potentially may see come to fruition by the end of the year in terms of stimulus, in terms of, again, just quantitative easing in general, interest rate numbers, everything monetary policy is going to be discussed on Thursday. And a couple of people have an inclination as to what they think he's going to be saying. A lot of people think he's going to go with the same precipice that he went with, a couple of weeks ago, in terms of, hey, we're still headstrong with, decreasing stimulus, and a couple other things that, maybe he has to, maybe talking points that he wants to talk about. But other than that, what I'm here to say is, guys, look, if you look on this daily real quick, what I want you to notice is that there is a slight level here that we can kind of look at, all right, and that's good, all right, in terms of anyone that likes structure, anyone that likes technical analysis, you want to see levels, you want to see concrete structural levels that are very flat, very nice, very solid, very sound, and that's what we got, and it's right there at 1470s. So if Draghi says anything positive, all right, anything great, anything probably maybe even if he goes along with saying the same thing he's been saying, we may see a push out of this 1470 level up into the mid 5s, okay, low to mid 15s. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. Now, look, if anything comes out bearish, if something switches and randomly we just kind of have this idea where, hey, look, maybe we need to kind of increase it, blah, 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 I don't know. And increase it means the stimulus packages that he's implementing month to month in terms of the asset purchasing, then we will see a sell-off. And so I do have this little channel drawn up here. It looks a lot better on the 4-hour. So it is, a little bit more of an intraday channel. So I guess, the feasibility of it actually existing is a little bit less, right? Remember, when you draw technicals on the lower time frames, you're going to end up, your actual technicals, they don't really, they don't have as much of a sound, I guess, probability that they're going to work out. All right, and that's just because the lower the time frame, the more noise there is, and the less obedience that the market gives to those technicals. Anyway, so we're looking here at this Euro U, and if you guys can notice, we're still hanging out here in this range. So nothing to be alarmed by yet with this Euro dollar. A fairly quick push higher. Now on the daily, there is a even larger channel here that is extremely bullish. But just here on this 4 hour from this consolidation from last month, you guys can kind of see that we are making the lower highs and higher lows. And higher highs, excuse me. Okay, so right now the true testament as to if this euro is going to pop or not is this level here. Okay, this 1480s, 1490s level. If we can get a pop at this level, man, and if we can get some strong push, then we will see this thing potentially start edging higher, and this market could come back up into, some of the levels, some of the higher areas of this consolidation here. Okay, so we got to look for the fundamentals. I think one of the major things that's going to drive it is the fundamentals. In terms of the market being infused with capital, and if that's still happening, it potentially could still be happening, right? We still could get a little bit of a higher high going on. But in terms of the immense volatility and the best opportunity to make money will come off of a good report coming from on Thursday, okay? But definitely there could be some institutions that are still trying to go long this Euro USD, so they might be selling off that US dollar and heading over into other assets, one being the Euro, okay? Just because they see that there's a likelihood that this thing could pop, all right? And if you guys want to look at the targets real quick, just want you guys to notice, folks, this thing is still fairly undervalued. I know we have the collapse almost of the European Union back here in 2014 with the Greece-Cyprus deal. But at the end of the day, you can kind of say a little bit of the risk is kind of eroding out of that market, because you do see the overwhelmingly that, freaking Germany, France, Netherlands, a lot of these economies are they're picking up a bit here, okay? And so to see this market down here still hanging around the 23.6, man, there is a lot of potential to see this thing higher, okay? We're talking about it now as if, hey, we've existed through this whole time period. Guys, the tables might be turning for this euro to start making a higher range, pushing around up here into the 17s, into the 18s, kind of maybe hanging back down, coming off, maybe hitting the level again. We might create an entire new consolidation within this area here. So that's what I'm looking to potentially see happening, all right? Now, at the end of the day, is that going to happen now? We don't know. All we got to do is kind of just see how these micro events happening, week to week are going to add up to continue this push higher. Because as of right now, man, look at this daily. This thing is soaring. This thing is soaring, okay? Literally from the low to the high in no time at all. Okay, and this is a 2-year range. So we're going to see how things add up. Would love to see a correction. I really would. I would like to see this thing back at 13 flat. That would be an amazing sell opportunity for me. I know my entry, I know my target, I know my stop. So I would be able to really put some size on this thing and actually benefit from that, because I know I have high degree of certainty that it would actually be able to execute down into the level. So that would be nice. But again, we have to keep an eye out on it. So for this Aussie dollar, I was talking to the guys this morning in terms of kind of having an idea about what's going to happen with this Aussie. It's creating a range right now, as you guys can see. Okay, so we drew up our fibs last night, and this is what we're looking like. Okay, so if we can get a crack of this low here, you guys can already see where I'm going with it. That's really it. If we get a pop of the high, then at the end of the day, the thing pops the high. I was saying last night in the webinar, I don't think I'm going to buy in to this Aussie. All right, Jesus, if it runs, it runs. But this is a monstrous push to the upside here. Okay, so I do have some retracements drawn up here just to show you guys the size of the retracements that give you guys the tendencies of the Aussie dollar and how the money is flowing within the pair and out of the pair, because that's very, very relative information, right? If we see that commonly this thing can see a 38.6% retracement, if it sees 50% retracements, if it sees 61.8 or 100% retracements, and what does that mean for us? Even on the larger extensions, you're usually going to see the market keep with those tendencies, which means we can definitely see this thing come back down to the 50, which is the base of the launch point. All right. So would love that. I don't expect it to come down to the apex. It could come all the way back down to the 76s. I'm not looking out for that. I might keep some size on if we can get back into the 50% level here, but there's no point for me to worry about that. Let's get to the 77s first, all right? And that's 110 pips away, okay? So definitely, folks, there's profit potential here on this Aussie dollar if we can get some sell-off, and all we need is a crack of the structure here, okay? Crack of the structure here, and that's what we're looking like. Now, if we get a pop higher, could I get long? I'd really need to figure out why and see why, and I would definitely be looking to mitigate losses very quickly. It might be a scalp more than anything, okay? So I'll keep an eye out on it. But other than that, the nice trade for me is the sell-off on this Aussie dollar. It looks pretty good. GBP USD, as I mentioned before, guys, we do have a pretty good looking trade on this GBP USD. Let's see here, okay. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So yeah, if we pull over into the 4 hour, it looks a little bit decent. Let me pull over into the daily, kind of give you guys a better look. And I do have another channel drawn up here on the CPUSD, as you guys can see, since 2017. Like everything else, we've been trending higher. You know, higher highs, lower high, higher high, lower high. Now look where we're at. Okay, so could we potentially crack this high? If we're considering this a higher high, it's not a very strong one, right? So either this market just has a lot more upside potential, or it needs to rebound and push back down a little bit to kind of get some more strength. Okay, so either we're going to just continue with this move right now, and we're just about to keep making higher highs, and we won't get anything more than a 23% retracement of, let's see what swing I want to draw that on. We may not get any more than a 23.6 from this move here. Okay, so we may not get too much of a sell-off, and if you get markets that just come back down into exactly where my target is in terms of the sell, then you still have a very momentous market, right? I mean, that is still a very, very fast market, folks. All right, so at the end of the day, you're not asking for a lot if we get this sell-off, and that's what I'm looking for, okay? So it's a very good-looking trade. Would love to sell this thing off back down in the structure. If it rips the high, then it rips the high. Okay, then it rips the freaking high. I have a limit on this thing, so I'm probably already triggered in, to be honest with you. Okay, I'm going to check after this. All right, and I'll notify you guys in the community. Okay, so other than that, let's see what else we got. We do got some other pairs that, you know, a lot of the guys like to poke around at. NZD/USD, again, it's a very interesting pair. We talked about it last night, you know, Sunday night, and, you know, what we were mentioning was I personally said that, hey, look, you know, is there a potential for markets to crack this 73.20? Because if it does, then you can have this thing come back down into the base here, which is the 72.74s. All right, and there's some profit potential there. I mean, that's 60 pips of upside. That's not too bad. Other than that, folks, you know, we might just create this whole new range within this here. I mean, if you look at this market like that, then what you guys can notice is no real true direction. I mean, we did create a higher high. We do have a higher low here, you know, compared to here. But at the end of the day, markets are seemingly somewhat directionless. All right, now, can we crack higher? We definitely can. But if I show you guys this thing on the weekly, then what you're going to notice is, man, we're at the top of the top, right? We are at the top of the top. We saw the same thing happen on the USD/JPY, and a lot of guys made some money on that because, again, we were at the top of the top, okay? Let's see. All right, and so notice what happened. All right, so we did have some sells in up here at this level there, and a couple of folks took it back down in. Okay, so same kind of thing is you know, adding up here for this NZD/USD. Okay, so it's just about kind of figuring out if, you know, if we're going to get some U.S. strength, because if we do, man, I'm telling you, the Aussie and the NZD, they move very fluidly. If the U.S. is doing well, then you're going to get a nice sell-off on the NZD/USD. If the U.S. is doing bad, then you're going to get a huge up move on this NZD/USD. This thing is very reactionary, and especially the Aussie. Maybe less the NZD, but especially the Aussie dollar, all right? So let's see what we can get on this NZD/USD as well. I like it for a sell. It's still here. You know, we were predicting sells on this thing in terms of the weekly perspective, and we had what we thought was 2 sell weeks in a row, you know, because we had markets look something like this at one point, where we called the sell week this week, and it happened, and then markets actually sold off this week. Okay, but then the last 2 days, man, everything just went parabolic in the other direction, okay? So again, same thing. We're getting a slowing down of the market. You can't say the market isn't slowing down. You can't say we're losing momentum. It's just about, is this thing accumulating order flow up here at this high only to crack higher? Or are we really truly losing out on buy side participation for this NZD? And are we going to get some strength coming back in on the US dollar? All right, so if I show you guys the dollar index real quick, just to give you guys a general perspective as to what we're looking at here. This is what we're seeing, okay? So, you know, the week prior, we were looking at this level right there. No real basis on thinking that that level would hold in terms of this little blue line there. It was just something to draw up. I definitely saw this thing could crack, but I was really looking to see the markets hang within this range here. So do we have more downside potential in terms of where the US dollar can go? We do. We do. We really do. So, you know, that's why I'm kind of giving a little bit of a margin of error for all of our pairs in terms of, you know, potential pushes a little bit higher before this US dollar starts to rally and kind of, you know, get a little bit more strength coming in. But we need the economics to back it up at the end of the fucking day, man. All right, I mean, CPI came out dismal last week. Janet Yellen did nothing to help steam this market forward in terms of some kind of bullish activity. Inflation's not moving anywhere, okay? And inflation's not moving anywhere for a couple of reasons. I can't wait to talk to you guys about all this stuff in the fundamental web video that we're going to be doing later this week. You know, so again, those concerns are definitely not helping the dollar out right now. We just kind of need something to happen economically, whether it's to the counterparts of these freaking U.S. dollar, U.S. dollar economies, okay, or whether it's the U.S. dollar itself, gaining some strength, okay. So, other than that, folks, that's about it. Let's see what happens with this NZD. Fairly good idea what's happening with the euro. Fairly good idea what's happening with the Aussie in terms of a sell. Euro, again, kind of just hanging around with it, right? And the GBP is looking pretty good. We're actually just making some lower, we should start hitting off into the 50s and hope we can come back down into those 40s pretty soon. So other than that, guys, your profit, always my motive. I'll talk to you guys pretty soon. I have a blooper from that video earlier. Check it out. I thought it was funny. I said I was going to add it at the end of this video. I'll see you guys later. Peace. Kind of reminds me of the amount of sell-side liquidity for US dollar